I talk Marvel. I see you in the chat room. Thanks for the popcorn, Team PopX.
Welcome to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. We're the podcast that covers everything pop culture and beyond the multiverse. Are you ready to get your geek on? Crank up the DeLorean, warm up the proton packs, toss a coin to your Witcher, and deep dive into your favorite plate of chimichangas. This is PopXcast.
You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Here we go!
PopXcast.
I was born in it, molded by it.
PopXcast. The strings on me. Autobots, transform.
I'm Batman.
By the power of Grayskull. PopXcast.
We're doomed.
Goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
Here's Johnny. Never had a pet pony. Hasta la vista, baby.
PopXcast.
Captain's log supplemental.
Negasonic Teenage. What the
I am the one who knocks.
Excelsior!
What's up, everybody? Team PopX is here. Oh my gosh, this is episode 125 on June 27th, 2021. What's up, Team PopX? How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look at Austin
What's
in
up?
his new crib here. I'm not used to this. Oh my.
I'm still getting used to it. Now this is the temporary set,
This
right?
is temporary,
just,
okay.
You know, for the meantime, all of it's being constructed. If you
Okay,
hear construction noises back there,
Oh,
but
okay.
let me tell you,
Settling in.
it's
You got Builder Bob back
good.
there working on the old thing there, huh?
I do,
Okay.
aka my wife.
Can he fix it? Yes,
No,
she
she
can.
can't. Nope.
Oh my, dude, you're in the doghouse now. You know that, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's not tell her. No one tell her.
No,
what I said.
no,
So-
no. Yeah, out there in PopX, you better not let his wife know this, okay? You heard it here first. No, I'm just messing with you. Well, it's cool, though. I'm so happy for you, man, and your new digs and just everything that you've got going on. I know before the show we were just talking about your new space, and you've got some new lighting and some new shelving for your Funko Pop figures, and you got to be excited, man. And
I
you
am.
hit
It's a-
90,000. Oh, my
I
God.
did. It's like all these things
Yes.
happening at once, and maybe we're due for a new like rebranding in the future. Like there's just a lot of stuff happening this year.
There could be a said brand endeavor in line for Mr. Burke. Now, Austin, have you signed off on it?
Well, let me just say, if they can get me to 100K, Joe and I may be spicing something up. That's all I'm saying. So it's up to you guys.
I can give them a preview of it right now.
Oh.
You want to give them a preview? I'm
Is
ready.
this a
for it.
debut?
Do you want me to do this?
Let's do it. Come on, man.
Are you
Give 'em
sure?
a little-
What?
Are you
little
sure?
sneak- little
Are you
sneaky
sure?
sneak.
All
Little
right.
sneaky peek.
All right,
Come on.
I'm gonna give him a little sneaky peek here. All right, give me just a second. I got
Seen
this
here
thing.
first.
This
ladies and
has
gentlemen.
never been done before. You guys are getting a first here, so let me just enable a couple things. Let me take us off, and here
can
you
click
go.
the buttons.
There you go. Look at that.
Well,
Let me know what you
work in
guys think
progress, but
about
let
it.
me
It's a
tell
little
ya.
bit of a work in progress there. But,
That is freak. Joe, let me tell you, this guy is the most talented. There's no one I would rather go to.
I have to wait for the delay to see it. Look at that. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie.
It's so shiny.
It is shiny. It's like a brand new car. It smells like a DeLorean,
like shiny
actually.
Things.
It smells like a DeLorean, and I kind of like it. But anyway, that's what we're working on right now. Look at the people in the chat room.
So still a work in progress, right? Or is this the final deal?
It is a little. I got a few more finishing touches on it
to make to it, so it might look a little different, but it's the concept.
It's 90% there.
I'm loving it.
Pretty freaking lit up in there right now. I love it.
Yes, it's got the vintage of the John Poffenbarger in the chat room is on it. It has got little nuances to a little bit of the Thundercat logo. It's got some of the retro, but also too. Can you imagine that on a black T-shirt walking around with?
Dude,
come on! I would wear that, and you're my dang cousin. So, but thank you, man, for letting me design this for you. You know that chrome and retro '80s art is kind of like my thing. So. I know I didn't really give you an ultimatum. I just kind of presented it to you. It's like, if you hit 100K, yeah, you can have it.
Dude, are you kidding me? Like when you approached me, I was just tickled to death, and it just got my gears turning in my brain. Like, man, how can we just refresh the whole channel now, man? You've inspired me to just go all out, man. So we're rocking it,
and we're giving you plenty of time for the transition and everything over. So, but anyway, holy cow. We got a great show for you guys. I don't know if you guys have looked at what we're getting ready to talk about, but we're going to be talking about Sweet Tooth. We're going to be touching base on Loki, and we're going to be talking about John Hughes' Breakfast Club coming up on this show. This is going to be ridiculous. But before we do that, Austin Burke, you got to do the honors. You got to kick us off on the right foot, bro.
Well, welcome to PopX. First time in the new dig saying that, so it feels pretty good. Where science fiction meets pop culture. I'm Austin Burke, the Appalachian Geek at Heart. We'd like to welcome everyone joining us live in the PopX.live chat room. You guys can come hang out with us and join the conversation at PopXcast.com. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to PopX, first 15 minutes or so, we run down the headlines since our last show, and we dive deep into all things nostalgic on the retro rewind, love me some John Hughes, and then at the halfway point, we hit on the show's topics, which I cannot wait to dive into. Jam-packed, man. It's going to be great.
It is going to be a great show. And I am Joseph Burke, Central Florida's seasoned comic book nerd and retro enthusiast. Now, myself and Lindsay join a host of others, including, I want to give a shout out really quick to Mr. Jeremy Stoltz, hanging out over in the Haps room right now. He is drawing his 9 o'clock drawing right now. This guy has done a drawing for every day for the past 14 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Lindsay? Is some kind of ridiculous number.
He's reached almost, it's very close to 3,000 days in a row.
3,000 days, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's
a lot of days.
Long story short, he's drawing right now and rebroadcasting the audio in his room on Haps. So everybody in the chat room right here, oh my God, give Jeremy, Jerimy, give him some love. He was just in here just a few moments ago. He's got the red shield icon. You can find him in the chat room.
Yep. Give him all the thumbs up. Give him all the sponsors, all the awards. Give him all the love. That's right.
But having said that, we're part of an amazing group, and we do live streams now on Haps. It's called the Creative Multiverse. You've heard us talk about it. We're now getting some ways to really push it into the light of artistic and creativity. And we're doing some pretty cool things a couple of times a week, and we do live streams with multiple artists. Some of them is even here in this chat right now. Shout out to Dev. Sure. What's up, Dev? And but we're having a great time with it, and we're just artists sharing and talking and listening to music and just doing what we love to do best, and that is simply create. And if you want to be a part of that, immediately following tonight's show, 11 o'clock Eastern, so we're live right now at 9 p.m., just in an hour and a half or so, we're going to be over at Haps on the Creative Multiverse, drawing and doing a post-PopX show hangout. You want to come hang out with us? I'll post the link in the chat room. All righty, Lindsay Badger.
All right, guys. Well, last week we had a lot of fun breaking down Loki, and we did the rewind of the Karate Kid on episode 124. So make sure that you go to our official website, popxcast.com, and go check out that replay and all of the other great episodes that are over there. There's a lot of geeky goodness that you can just get lost in for hours. So If you like what you see here tonight, please make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button, slamming on that notification bell so you know when we go live next. We already have the next episode scheduled.
We do.
By the way. Yes. And anybody out on that podcast platform, make sure you go give us a 5-star glowing review and maybe say a couple of nice words, pretty please, because
we would love it very much.
We love you.
Thank you, Lindsay Badger.
You're welcome.
But guys, let's get into some news. I don't know about you, but we got some crazy stuff we're going to be talking about right here. So don't go anywhere. PopX News coming your way right now.
Extra, read all about it. This is PopX News, coming to you live right here on PopXcast.com.
In true fashion, ladies first, Lindsay Badger.
All right, well, we're kicking off the news this week with some Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie updates. Director Jeff Fowler has taken to social media to confirm that the production on the video game movie sequel has officially wrapped. Production on the sequel began back in March, meaning it was completed in just over 3 months. That is fast, you guys.
That is a quick
that
turnaround.
That is super fast.
Dang.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is currently set to release on April 8th, 2022. And we'll see star Ben Schwartz return as the voice of the eponymous Hedgehog, along with James Marsden and Tom Wachowski, and, of course, our dear beloved Jim Carrey coming back as Dr. Robotnik. I cannot wait. The first one was fantastic. I'm glad they spent the extra time giving it its justice and due honors of building it and making it the great movie that it came out to be. And I hope the second one carries the torch into telling another great story.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the first one blew us all away. I mean, we've seen how many of these video game adaptations come to cinema, and we kind of watch it haphazardly.
Oh, they're
and
kind of train wreckies.
Yeah,
or like mediocre at best.
You see Resident Evil, and you're like, meh. And then you see all these other ones, you're like, yeah. And so Mortal Kombat, which kind of the first movie in '94
some cool
was
parts in it, but it was still
it had good moments, but meh. But this one, got to tell you, man, it was really an eye opener that an actual video game franchise can, in fact, be a box office hit, blockbuster. And when you have some great talent on board like Jim Carrey, hey, you're going to get some pretty good hits. And I think Jim Carrey, I think he's rediscovering his stride in his career later in his life.
Tails show up in this one, if I remember the end of the first movie.
Tails
introduced him.
Austin, and what do you think about Sonic 2?
According to set photos, Knuckles will be in the movie as well. They're apparently stand-ins for both Tails and Knuckles on set.
Well, you got to. You know how he does this in all of his stances,
bro.
He's got.
I'm like tickled to death. And the thing that I love about this is, Joe, you mentioned Jim Carrey. His philosophy's so great. And he said this in an interview. He said, "I wanted to do Sonic because I was so popular generations ago, and I want to get in with this new generation." He said, "What's the best way to do that? Play this iconic character in a movie for families to where kids can grow up that never knew Jim Carrey, but now they know him as Dr. Robotnik." And man, he has really revitalized his career and maybe set him on a new path. So that's my favorite part about this, and I'm psyched for the sequel. I hope it's really good.
He's awesome. Kind of made a habit of reinventing himself, especially because you had the wave of The Mask and the Pet Detective series. That was like our generation.
That was Generation A
that
for
was
Carrey.
Like the 90s.
Then there was Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and
he got into more serious stuff, which was not so much.
Which is a great movie, by the way.
That was a completely different side of him, which I'm glad he showed that he was a dynamic actor that can do multiple things. Which was good for him. And then he went back to the more children-aged movies with The Grinch, etc.
Yeah.
And that kind of revitalized him in a new generation.
I couldn't agree more.
And then now he's tapping back into that again with the Sonic series. So I think it's a brilliant move career-wise, but it's also just showing his wide range of talents.
I couldn't agree more. And we could spend all day talking about how much we love Sonic, but we have to move on.
We could do a
here,
whole
but,
episode on Jim.
You know, coming up on the Marvel side of things, Marvel is celebrating X-Force's 30th anniversary with a brand new one-shot special. Now, if you're going to celebrate the team's big special occasion, who better to have on board than the one person who created them? Thankfully, that's the case, as Rob Liefeld is returning to X-Force Saga later this year with a brand new chapter in the X-Force called Kill Shot. Now, the new one-shot, it's a one-shot. If you don't know what that means in comic lingo, it's just a one-off, spin-off, one-shot comic. It's just a one book. And so the new one-shot will have Cable and the Squad pulling together 5 different teams from across time to lead attack on Strife. And we've got an exclusive first look at it. It's a slick new cover of Liefeld. If you go to Rob Liefeld's Instagram, you can have a nice little gander at that beautiful cover. Mike's not here tonight, so he's not here to show us that beautiful cover, unfortunately.
I'm missing the pictures.
And if you're wondering where Mike's at, he's helping his kid move, so there you go.
We miss you, Mike.
We miss you, Mike. But it will hit store shelves this November. If you want to pick it up at your local comic book shop, please do so.
I want to say...
Yes.
This news right here, talking about X-Force, and it makes me think of kind of where they were going with Deadpool 2 and the rumored X-Force movie that they had in development. Joe, what are your thoughts on that ever coming back to light? Because we know that Marvel, Disney, they bought Fox, and it's kind of dissolved. But, you know, Josh Brolin was Cable, and he was great as Cable, and I don't know why you wouldn't utilize that because he was covered up by the Thanos CGI. So do you think we'll ever get that rumored X-Force movie now that that's part of Disney?
I don't know if we will ever get that hypothesized development of the film adaptation as it was originally scripted in the hands of Fox. But I do feel that Deadpool 3 has been greenlit and has been greenlit for an R rating already by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios.
Let's go, Feige.
Having said that, I foresee Deadpool 3 literally breaking all the cusps of time and being part of the multiverse madness mayhem arc that's going on because guess what? Deadpool has a time machine in his hand thanks to Cable. If you watch Deadpool 2... If you watch Deadpool 2, he's able to teleport through time, right? Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? He could create variants of himself. And how many variants? Well, we've got Deadpool Gwen. We've got Spider-Gwen. Oh, well, not Spider-Gwen, but how many versions of Deadpool do we have? There's like 100 Deadpools.
Multiple?
Yeah. So I foresee Deadpool being the comedic relief, parody spoof of the whole multiverse thing in about 2 or 3 years.
I
love
see.
that.
That's my prediction, at least.
I see it not being a movie, but turned into a series, similar to how they did with MODOK and put it on Hulu. That's where I see X-Force going.
That is kind of their more adult.
That's where I don't think it's going to be.
So.
I don't think it'll be a movie. I don't think it'll be in theaters. I think it'll skip the Disney Plus world because they are trying to keep that a little more
for sure.
PG-13 on the higher end, and then shifting that over to Hulu.
Yeah,
I think keeping it in that world.
I think you're right on there, Lindsay. That's actually a really good point. They're either going to put it onto Hulu as a series, or they're going to just release it cinematically as an R-rated film and just do it that way. But
or they could.
I was going to say, I was
put
going
it on Disney Plus and keep it in the story arc of the MCU.
It won't be on Disney Plus
because
that is one foul mouth varmint right there. Let me tell you.
It's not gonna fit there.
That's no bueno.
Fit.
Austin Burke, you've got the next headline, brother.
Well, this one gets me excited because I think I'm watching this movie tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But Black Widow is shaping up to be Scarlett Johansson's final run with Natasha Romanoff, the character which she has been playing since the 2010's Iron Man 2. Now 2 years since the world saw Natasha die. Spoilers in Endgame. Black Widow prequel is aiming to fill in the blanks about Natasha's life in the MCU, and Johansson seems to be truly stepping away from the role. She says, "It feels great to leave the party." I love this. When it's still raging. And I think this film feels very much like it's alive and fresh and powerful, and I feel really pleased with it. I feel really happy with the work that we've done for this decade of time. And it's bittersweet to say goodbye, but if you love something, you need to set it free. Oh my gosh, that broke my heart, but it seems like she's stepping away.
It's
It
exactly
breaks my
what
heart,
Chris
but it
Evans
also-
said too. You know, Chris Evans said something very similar to that, and so did Robert Downey Jr. Lindsay.
Yes.
It's smart to step away from a role that's at its peak instead of driving it into the ground, which is a lot of times what roles like this that continue to show up in movies. That's what happens. People are like, I'm so done. I'm so over it. And we've managed to keep these characters in the interest of the viewers for a decade.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a full-on origin story reflection of her character, so that it's nice that they're going to wrap it up with a, you know what happened, but here's what happened before that. Okay, we're done now. It's a nice full circle closure of that character, and I feel like it's very smart that they're finishing it there.
I agreed. And with that, Lindsay, you got one of the last headlines of the week, and then we're going to do a little bit of trailer discussion.
We're still keeping it in the comic talk, but we're going to switch gears over to DC for just a moment.
Oh, man, this was so good.
The Flash movie that we've heard so many things about, we're finally getting some trickles of new information. The set photos are giving fans their first look at Michael Keaton's return as Bruce Wayne. The final, while the director Andy Muschietti teased Keaton's Batman costume with his own photo on social media, a new set photo shows Keaton's back as Bruce Wayne, reprising his role from the 1989's Batman movie and its sequel, Batman Returns. Keaton will be playing the older Bruce Wayne from an alternative timeline in the film, which draws inspiration from DC Comics' 2011 Flash-centric timeline rewriting crossover event titled
Flashpoint.
Oh.
Which is something that the CW show basically kicked off season 1 with.
They tried to do Flashpoint.
There's a lot of people familiar with the Flashpoint storyline, so I think it's smart that they're doing that.
Well, I mean, I do remember, forgive me, Arrowverse Flash fans, but I have not caught up on Flash since season 5 when the Thinker, I made it about halfway through that season, and then there was just so much overload at that time. If I'm not mistaken, that's when Endgame came out. There was a lot of stuff coming out.
There was a lot going on that year.
There was no way in the world that I could catch up and just be try to maintain any kind of sort of balance and all that, because you had Arrow going on, then you had Legends of Tomorrow. It's just like Black Lightning, and I'm like, what is going on? Now you got Superman and Lois. I can't keep up with this. But anyway, I say all that to say this. There was a point in the Flash, in that world's crazy event that they had, where Ezra Miller did come into the CW-verse as his cinematic version of the Flash. And Austin, you said something really interesting before the show. You were saying that in Ezra Miller's movie, this Flash with Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, that we're going to get to see possibly Gus. Expand on that a little bit.
The rumor is that this version, essentially what they did in the CW, except this will be a bit of an expanded role. So the rumor is he's going to somehow meet that CW universe's Flash in this movie, whether it be halfway or he gets, he runs by that other universe. And Grant Gustin's going to be in this movie, in the cinematic film. So it's not only crossing over to Michael Keaton's universe, it's going to cross over to multiple
Do you think
universes.
that they're kind of getting smart at Warner Brothers with everything that Marvel's doing in Disney Plus with all the cross Come on. It took them long enough.
Don't kill the things that people like.
It took you it's been 88 years.
If they're smart, here's what they'll do if they're smart, and if Michael Keaton has a good time, now if he doesn't, okay, see you later. But if he has a good time, you say, Michael Keaton, sir, will you remain Batman, bring in Terry McGinnis, and do a live-action Batman Beyond movie? Because he's almost at that age to where they could do a Batman Beyond film
I
in
think
his universe.
When you saw the preview of Michael Keaton as the reprised version of Bruce Wayne, I mean, dude, it looks like the Batman Beyond Bruce. The hair's all fluffed back, and then that car. What in the heck is that car? It's ridiculous. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you just need to go over to comicbook.com or one of your news outlets. We would have the images here tonight, but like I said, it's amazing. I'm lid blown. But all of that said, we're coming up on the halfway point, and I do want to discuss one thing before we move into the retro rewind, and that is the Shang-Chi trailer that dropped this week. We got a second trailer. It's just like, hey, give you a little something before Independence Day. Yeah, a little something before July 4th. And, the trailer, for the first time, we saw the rings in action, how the rings are summoned, and then they go down on the forearm, and they charge up the person, and they're able to use energy. And we don't know the mechanics, if it's sorcery or wizardry or how the rings work. We don't know what powers them. We don't know if they're made of vibranium or what. But the end of that. let's just jump ahead just to it's a 1 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 20 minute mark. You see Wong in a cage match against Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie of 2008. What?
Wait, what?
Yes.
Who?
Yes.
What?
Abomination is in Shang-Chi trailer, and Wong from Doctor Strange is battling Abomination in a cage match, and if you pause a frame, there's Captain America's shield in the background. What's happening?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can anybody explain to me what is going on, and why is Abomination in this movie?
And not only that, right? It's a comic accurate, because at first I'm like, well, is that Abomination? Because it's the same shape, it's the same size, but it's his comic accurate face. He's grown out
with the fin ears.
He's got the fins, right?
Yeah.
So how it was a mutation in Incredible Hulk, and he kept growing spikes throughout the movie. He's blossomed into that comic book version
of himself.
And we know he's confirmed for She-Hulk. So could this movie somehow lead us into a She-Hulk?
Boy.
I'm feeling so. Lindsay, did you see the new Shang-Chi
I
trailer?
have not, but now I'm going to go watch it 5 times.
Yeah.
Well, you need to watch it 10 times because it's the 10 rings. But anyway.
And the Mandarin's in the trailer, which is the comic book
the real Mandarin.
The Mandarin.
The real Mandarin. And then you've got a dragon underwater that looks like Falcor. And so
it does look like
what?
Yes, but the dragon is actually a protective entity over Shang-Chi and his family. It's a long story, but we'll get into that.
When did this trailer come out?
Thursday, Wednesday.
Okay, that makes sense.
Friday,
I was on vacation. That's why.
It was pretty recently, but oh my God, I'm blown away. Wow. I'm excited. Austin, This is going to be that sleeper Black Panther movie that none of us saw coming. That's going to slap us upside the head, dude.
That's the first thought I had was Black Panther.
Really?
He's got one hero on his journey. The fights that we get, kind of the look of it all, kind of even it's reminiscing Black Panther, just the cinematography and all of that stuff. And man, I'm telling you, it looks like it could be a standout. And I think this thing is going to be a box office smash, especially overseas. Hopefully in the United States.
It's going to be really exciting.
The artistic direction with all the elements of the tradition of that that culture with the sand painting and lotus, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Action-packed, man.
Dude, it's beautiful.
I like the timing of it because the market isn't saturated with that cultural style of entertainment currently. Because we go through waves of these.
We do,
the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons, and whatnot. There's like a huge saturation of the Asian culture style movies and shows, and right now we're kind of in a lull where it's like, let's bring this back.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
It's so cool to watch all of that culture.
I think the media is prime and pumped for that. I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of cool stuff from that. But
agree.
With all of that said, if you haven't seen the Shang-Chi trailer, oh my God. Well, you got to go trailer number 2. You make sure you look at number 2, which was released just this past week. With all that said, guys, you ready for some retro rewind?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. Are you ready for some retro rewind? Yeah, you know what time it is. Retro Rewind. Retro Rewind. Retro Rewind. John Hughes, the man that wrote my childhood. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm telling you right now, this movie, Austin, I'm not going to put you on the spot. I know this is not scripted, but I want you to open up this discussion. I want to hear from a kid that wasn't raised in the 80s. I want to hear your interpretation and your overall consensus of this movie before Joe goes in and and exposes the very elements of fiber being of his heart. I want you to let me know what you thought about The Breakfast Club.
Well, it's a funny story because, I grew up, even though it wasn't of my time, I grew up with Ferris Bueller. That was my movie growing up, right?
Yeah.
And that was always the John Hughes film that I would go back to and revisit. Now, The Breakfast Club was one of those that I didn't revisit often, and I only saw it 2 to 3 times growing up. But every time I would watch it, I would enjoy it and I would have a good time with it. But I didn't really, for some reason, resonate with the characters until I got a bit older and kind of became about that age.
Yes.
Right. And then once you're that age and you realize, because there's a lot more, there's varying emotions with Breakfast Club, whereas with Ferris Bueller, you're kind of focused on Ferris, and it's one mentality, one personality.
Right.
Yeah, it's fast paced, and then you just have kind of his friends who are the surrounding characters. Here, you have multiple characters. Each person is different. They're all going through their different thing, and they're all trying to deal with high school in a different way. And then, of course, they come together and mesh. Don't really fold in together like you expect, but it creates just this thoroughly entertaining John Hughes quip-filled adventure that, going back and watching it yesterday was a fantastic time. And, as much as I love Ferris Bueller and I prefer Ferris Bueller over this movie, I have to say this is one of his most intricately written scripts, John Hughes, because you're dealing with so much and so many things that I think all of us, and Joe, I'm sure you'll be able to spell this out more, but all of us can and could relate to, especially those that grew up during that time when things were a lot different then, and kids and teenagers were struggling with different things than teenagers are now in this technology-filled world, right?
Right.
But I love how memorable each character is. I love how each performance stands out in a different way, from Emilio Estevez to Molly Ringwald to it's all just it's so personal, but the way that he interweaves comedy is brilliant in my opinion. And I'd always heard people say, well, not everyone obviously, but a lot of people say that Breakfast Club is better than Ferris Bueller. And even though my nostalgia says I don't see that, but part of me is like, man, it is just such a well-written script, and it fits in perfectly with, kids. And Joe, I can't wait to expand on this, but 1985, was it? 1985?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so 85, it feels like the defining coming-of-age movie of that year and one of the defining movies of the decade. But John Hughes, man, cranking them out left and right.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller, Breakfast. I mean, it's ridiculous how good this guy was, and this is just another John Hughes classic. I could use that word. It's a classic.
It is definitely. It hits you in the feels, and before I expand, I do want to hear Lindsay.
You done on it? Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't want to start diving into
No,
stuff. He was still
you're
going.
fine.
It was like a quiet moment.
It's a quiet moment.
Anyways,
Somber.
it's been a while since I've seen this movie. I've seen it several times before and always enjoyed it. Interesting thing about Breakfast Club compared to movies we watch today is it all happens in one room.
Mm-hmm.
There's no special effects.
Yeah.
The movie entirely relies on the cast selling their roles, the good writing. As you had mentioned before, it's very intricate writing. The characters are very well fleshed out in their individual personalities.
Different.
And the music, of course, also plays in. But there's not even a ton of music in the first half of the movie. It's not until they start gelling when you start hearing a lot more of that music. I mean, there's a little bit towards the beginning when they're coming into the school, but most of
that's
it's
so
very
strategic from John Hughes too, right? You've got to allow them to get to know each other, and then we start getting the fun. I love that.
If you think about it, it's a very low-key movie.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of over-the-top dramatic moments in this movie. All of it's mostly just them in the library having conversations with each other, and it's breaking down stereotypes is essentially the overarching lesson to take away from this movie. Is you have a representative of each of the generalized cliques of high school. You have your jock, you have your preppy / cheerleader girl, you have your bully bad kid kind of personality. You have your brainiac, and you have your weird outsider artistic kind of character, and they're all forced to be in this room and coexist together. And then you have the stereotypical principal that hates his life because he feels like he's stuck and not going anywhere, and so he takes it out on everybody else around him. So all of those personalities being mixed together like some weird fruit salad, and watching it all come together, and they actually get along with each other and build relationships, and they're having like kind of like a group therapy is really what I felt like this entire movie was. Of, I assume this about you, but this is not not the truth of what it is essentially what it's just the breakdown of the walls and the barriers and the assumptions of the stereotypes that they are kind of socially put into, but don't necessarily exist in real life, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's really a more of a mental thing than like a visual thing to connect with all of those stories.
I love your layout on that, and how you just literally just like painted that whole picture across the board of how that, I mean, well done. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better than what I did. And, let me, excuse me for a second, because we're breaking balls here.
Yes!
So, Bender, let's talk Bender for a minute.
Okay.
We all know a guy in our school who was a Bender.
Oh, for sure.
We all know a Claire. We all know an Allison. We all know an Andrew. And we all know a Brian. And I think that resonates because raised up in the 80s, we didn't have a big library like that with like neon around the edges and everything like that.
I think I had that library in college, not high school.
See, that library was actually a film set. Spoiler alert.
What? No.
But it resonates because I kind of see myself a little bit more. You can connect. Whoever's watching this movie at whatever season of life they're in, and yes, this is actually Bender's Gloves. Whatever season of life that you're in, you can connect with this movie and one of the characters, and there's something that you've done in your life that makes you resonate with that individual and that character, right?
Yeah.
For me, I automatically go to Brian, which is Anthony Michael Hall's character. Kind of the nerdy guy who's not... He can solve math problems all day long, but when it comes to try to make a light with an elephant on it, it's just, the mechanical, the actual physical hands-on. That's his weakness. That's his failure. I resonate with this movie so much. The music, just the comedic banter, but also there's a serious tone here that is not, you don't see a lot in movies, teen movies, because teen movies today is just about how quick you can get in bed with somebody. This movie is not about that. I mean, I'm being real. I'm being real. I mean, sex is king.
It's definitely addressing serious issues.
But scale all of that back, the issues isn't the collection of people, it's the individuals within the group of people, and they have to learn how to live life together. And they have to learn how to coexist with each other for the next 8 hours. If not, it's going to be one long ride. And we all know the principal, too, because we always had a principal that would bust our balls. At least I did. I had one, and he's kind of like, I could look at his face right now, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy from Breakfast Club. But I'm not going to mention any names because I got some people back home in Kentucky that watch this stream, and then they're going to know. It's like, you're talking about so-and-so. But anyway,
well,
you know how they are in Kentucky, right? But there's this underlying tone of no matter where you are and what season of life that you're in, somehow you're going to get through it. It doesn't matter if you've had the abusive father, or you have the father that expects you to be the all-star quarterback, or you have the parents that want you to get the ride and go to Yale, or you have the money. It's not all about that. It's about understanding who you are and where you are at that moment in time and how you're going to get to the next season of your life. See, it's kind of a deep tone. It's kind of very deep there. And so scaling all that back for me, I have to say, as my dog is honking underneath my desk here, which was awesome. I hope you guys heard that.
I can't hear it.
Good, because it's really crazy sounding. Dogs do this thing called inverse sneezing, and it's like, anyway. But it's ridiculous sounding. It sounds like she's farting through her nose.
Oh boy,
I do that.
But I do too. It's a Bert thing. You wouldn't have to understand. But long story short, the Breakfast Club for me is just a culmination of a lot of things in my life. The music, the sound, the culture, the way of life, and not doing. Here's the thing, we do this all the time here today.
Oh yeah.
Lord,
This is how you solve problems today, right? Well, let me just look it up on Wikipedia, or let me look it up. Dude, you didn't do that back in the 80s. You had to figure this stuff out on your own. You couldn't just go up and pull up the World Wide Web and expect to have an answer within 5 seconds. It's not that easy.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And so, anyway, long story short, this is definitely in my top 5 all-time 80s films, easily, just because of just the tone and understanding each other's situation and the diversity of each one of the characters that are playing here. With that said, let's go ahead and anything else that we want to add to this?
We didn't really give nitpicks or anything. If I had a couple of nitpicks, just comparing it to Ferris Bueller, I still think Ferris Bueller is better because I do think this does diverge into that cheese just a little bit more than I would have hoped. And some of those tropes are there. But that's really my only major nitpick of it's probably 2 or 3 on my John Hughes filmography. It's definitely up there.
It is. Yeah. He like I said, he wrote our childhood.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Lindsay, you got any nitpicks or any?
It's kind of difficult to compare the two. I mean, yes, they're both high school movies, but they're such different tones that it's really hard to compare the two of them.
Yeah.
I really. It took me by surprise about how engaging it was without having a lot of scene changes or activities happening other than just, I mean, you really are just focused in one room the majority of the time, except for whenever they sneak out for that one little bit and then they're all back in there again. Yeah. So with what was there, I'm actually quite impressed.
Yeah.
With what the writing was. That we need more writing like that today in the movies that we have to deal with the new movies. We need that deep thought movie writing to you could probably really get some knock out of the park blockbusters to pair up with all of the graphics and stuff that we have now.
Yeah. I can pick it apart. I can find a couple little editing qualms and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to justify my overall view of the film. It's not going to change my score. It's not going to change anything per se. And I just, I mean, yeah, I could, but honestly, it goes to show you the power that John Hughes had as a writer. If he can take 5 characters and throw them into a library, and literally not scene change, one room, that's it.
Yeah.
And how can you create in a movie that's going to engage you for an hour and a half in a library? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. That's good writing right there. You got to acknowledge John Hughes' chops for just what he's able to do. With that said, we're going to give our official rating, and we're going to move over into Sweet Tooth. Austin Burke and Lindsay Badger, you guys are leading the charge. What's your scores?
My score is an 86. I think it's a wonderful movie, and every time I watch it, I feel like I go up a couple percentages. So 86 for me.
Very cool.
Love it.
I was an 8.5, so that's really close.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm an 88.
Nice.
Yes.
Very good scores all across.
So 8.5. What we got? 8.86 and then 88. Wow. Man, I'm telling you, as you can see, we're literally within 1 point of each other on our scores, so that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
John Hughes, man, I tell you, gone way too soon. If you can imagine if that dude was still alive today, what he would be writing.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. It's a very well done movie.
Yeah. John Poffenbarger, 8 out of 10. We got Mike over here at the 85. Nice. And show your scores in the bottom, guys. So please do so. Yeah. But we're going to graduate over into Sweet Tooth over the Netflix, and we're also going to roll the spoiler alert warning. If you've not watched Sweet Tooth, well, you have been warned. We'll be right back.
Danger. You are about to enter a PopX spoiler alert. Beyond this point, there is no return. You have been warned.
You have been warned, and we are talking Sweet Tooth on this week's actual PopX cast. Now, Sweet Tooth is a sort of a cinematic live action adaptation, if you will, of a DC Comics storyline. Very interesting DC Comics storyline as well, but I do feel that the Netflix show, it really broke a lot of boundaries. It really broke down a lot of things that we all preconceive it can be done in a series, but has not necessarily been done yet in a series. It's just phenomenal, and just the overall fleshing out of the characters and how much time we spent with Gus, who is the main lead character, the little boy with the deer antlers. The one thing I love about this, and it just drew me in from the first episode, it's almost as if Steven Spielberg himself was writing this story as, you know how Spielberg always wrote the story through the eyes of a child, like E.T., etc. It kind of felt like that. And it felt like we were experiencing this world, this post-apocalyptic world where this virus, the sick, as they call it, is claiming the lives, and they're trying to scavenge around the entire world to find a cure for this virus, this contagion. And in the middle of all of this, some of the newborn babies are coming out with animal-like characteristics, and they don't know why. And it's mind-boggling. But the first few episodes on how we watch Gus transcend from his dad to the little cabin in the woods, and just it almost reminds me of the movie Nemo. You know how his father says, "We go in and we come back. We go in, we come back."
It was
but you never don't go to the edge, don't go to the wall, don't go to the deep, come back. And it's almost like that. Gus can't go to the fence. Don't go to the fence. Come back. And I was really getting like Nemo vibes from that, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
It's so funny you say that. It's like when he takes that one step across the fence line. It's like I touched the butt.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
So
that's good.
Yes,
so
I
Sweet Tooth was
agree.
created by Jeff Lemire, and so Jeff is a brilliant author and illustrator working at DC Comics. And so just to give you a little backstory, this series came from DC way back in the day. We're talking probably around 09, 08, 09 is when the first issues of Sweet Tooth started coming out on the market. So it's been around a while, probably as long as maybe The Walking Dead. And it was produced by Vertigo Comics, which is, you think about Disney Plus and how Hulu is the more adult version of Disney Plus. Vertigo is the more adult version of DC Comics. That's how that works, okay? And so it was really interesting how the story is evolved and how everything is just included, and pretty accurate to the comic book. I'm going to say that right off the top. Pretty loyal to the actual source material. Austin, I want to go with you next. What did you think about Sweet Tooth? Have you read the comic, or are you just going in watching the show?
I was going in blind. I was familiar with the comic. I knew of the art style and kind of what the feel for it was, but I didn't really know much of the story. It actually reminds me, and like nobody's seen this movie, it's a movie called Leave No Trace that came out in 2018 starring Ben Foster, where he keeps his daughter, they live in this forest, and keeps his daughter sheltered from the world, and you think it's like this apocalypse. And mild spoiler, it's like 20 minutes in the movie, and then you realize they're just in a forest in this huge city, and it's normal. Like everything's normal. He's just keeping his daughter away from civilization.
Wow.
So that idea, now I feel like this movie got it from this comic, but that idea felt very familiar going into this. And then you start getting into that father-son relationship, and Will Forte's the dad. Let me tell you,
dude,
I mean, he was amazing.
That was a breakout role. I mean, from SNL to serious acting.
Yes.
What happened there? That was awesome. I want more Will Forte, man.
I do too, and I've always seen him as just this hardcore comedian. But man, that one tear in the scene right before he gets taken away, that was beautiful, man. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. So then he goes out and he's kind of exploring the world, and he runs into Jepperd, who is just an incredible character, right?
Yeah.
And you think it's going one direction, But all of a sudden, about halfway through the series, it goes in a completely different direction. One thing I love about this show is it keeps you on your toes, and it's not predictable.
Right.
And a lot of kudos goes to the source material, but kudos also goes to the writer of this series and the directors who kind of transferred that and made it so cinematic and visceral. And not only did they use CGI, they used puppets as well. They used all kinds of things that, and I love what, I believe it was the writer. I think it was the writer. He actually said he sent the script in to one of these, I believe it was a producer or a station. It was sent back to him saying, this will never get made and it will never be a successful television show. And then Robert Downey Jr.
I knew he had a hand in this. Yeah.
Yes, he's the main guy. He's the executive, one of the main producers on it. So he and his wife fund this project.
Wow.
They send it to Netflix. It trends worldwide for like 2 weeks, and this show's a massive hit. And that's kind of the ultimate, like, don't ever, like, follow your dreams, kids. But seriously, don't ever let that kind of rejection stray you away, because they really had something here transferring this comic onto the big screen, man. And I thought Sweet Tooth was one of the most unexpected and wonderful shows of the entire year. And this journey, and this kid, Gus is awesome. I mean, one of the best young actors I
think
remember
he's Christian
watching.
Cavera or something like that.
That sounds right.
Convery.
Yeah,
Convery.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's incredible. I mean, give this kid all of the. It's almost like Jacob Tremblay, like this young actor. You know who's got it in him. So give this kid all of the roles, and also, of course, the clear idea of fitting in when you don't belong, whether it be looks or person. I mean, that idea can go on for ages and resonate with everyone.
It almost is like The Breakfast Club when you think about it.
It's got some John Hughes, like, because John Hughes always deals with characters that don't necessarily feel like they fit in with the world. The world around them rejects them, but then you find your place, right? That idea is
I didn't even plan that either, guys.
Yeah, it's very prevalent.
That is awesome. Lindsay Badger, let's hear from the lady.
Oh my goodness, Sweet Tooth. Okay, so that wasn't even close to being on my radar. Even whenever it came out, I didn't even know what it was, nor did I have interest in it. And Joe was like, you need to watch this.
Same.
We're watching this. I scheduled an episode. You're watching it.
You're either watching it or you're not on the show.
You're watching it or we're just doing it without you. And I was okay, you're twisting my arm. I trust the tastes of the Burke boys. They know what they're talking about. When it's good, it's good. Yeah. And they were not wrong again this time. It was a fantastic story. It kicks you in the feels every turn of the corner. There's a little bit of happiness, and then it just turns right around and wrecks it.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just an up and down. There's way too much reality in this possibility of the world existing this way, especially with the pandemic thing that we're dealing with right now. And that's just, the anxiety that already ties into all of that. And then you're just like, oh, well, don't let your neighbor know that you're coughing. Holy moly. That whole thing. And then the kids just trying to be kids in a really wacky world, and they don't understand what's going on. And then having the babies being taken away. And oh my gosh, there was just so many heart-wrenching moments that I had to take a moment and pause through a couple of those episodes towards the end. They just got a little
too much
dark.
Yeah, a little dark. Yeah,
little dark. One of my favorite characters of the entire series has to be Jep. He is such a wonderful, big-hearted character. He clearly had to be put in situations he didn't want to be in to survive, and you can tell. And he doesn't really dive deep into the dark side of him necessarily, but you can tell that he always wanted to have those good intentions, and that he was kind of used for his brute force, I think. Another character that really shined for me, and he didn't have a ton of role moments in this, but General Abbott, which I swore up and down was John Malkovich for the longest time. I had to look it up. I swore it was, because he has that same air about him and his personality and his styling of the way he acts. And so, oh my gosh, he is just a sick, twisted person, but man, was he so good at it.
Yeah.
You know who that is, right? We were talking about the Flash earlier. He played the Thinker in the CW Flash. That was the Thinker.
That's him.
Yes. He's drastically different in that the look-wise. He's drastically different, but that's the
same
guy.
actor.
Yeah. He range.
Good
oh my
grief.
God.
That's a freaking what do they call those roles? The guys that really gets into the role. You know what I'm talking about?
Method
actors.
Yeah,
method acting.
dude. He is just
that's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Lindsay Badger, continue. I want to hear more.
I love how because we had like 3 different storylines that we were following at the beginning. We had the Gus storyline with Jep and Bear, and then we had the Dr. Singh and Ronnie and his wife in that neighborhood and his journey. And then we have it kind of circle back around with the hybrid sanctuary.
The zoo.
All how those stories kind of merged together and finally came to making sense. I'm like, I was really confused with the doctor thing. I was like, okay, where's the relevance? I understand because you see him from the beginning all the way through the end, but there was no relevance until the very end of why he was there. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And they leave the story not necessarily on a cliffhanger, but definitely with some questions to continue it if they wanted to.
Such a great show, and
it was really, really well done.
The cinematography too. I feel like I was watching something. You ever watch a show or a series and it feels like it's something that you've never seen? Because sometimes we watch a movie and it's like, oh, this is familiar. Yeah, I see the shot here. I know how they're setting this up, or I see the. Dude, I'm telling you, it was just beautiful. Just the cinematography of this wasteland after the sick has taken over and nature has grown back over some of these structures and has reclaimed some of the infrastructures of modern day. I love that. I love that take on it. And they did it not with any kind of gloom and doom, but with almost a sense of beauty. The color palette on this particular series, I don't know what you call that, but it was just so pleasing on the eyes. It almost is like sepia with a little bit of like hue adjustment. I don't know what that is or what they did, but it was very nice to see that.
There was one other thing that I really enjoyed that kind of helped do that whole, as you mentioned, the tell it through the child's eyes viewpoint, was there was actually a narrator.
There was.
We were listening to a storybook.
But we don't know who that is yet, do we?
Well, I know who the actor is, but I don't.
But does this guy show up in the series at some point? Because obviously Netflix has greenlit this for season 2 already, right? Didn't they go ahead?
It would make sense if he showed up. That would be cool.
I think they did for 2 and 3, didn't they? Didn't they do 3 seasons? They've already greenlit it for 2 more.
It's not an official green light, but that is the rumor going around, is that there's going to be a 2-season package, 3-season, maybe a 3-season arc, but I have a feeling they could keep going. Yeah, I hope they do.
It's too good. It's too good. I mean,
there's a lot of questions to answer still.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. This could be the next Stranger Thing.
I hope so.
It could be.
I'm down with it.
It could be. I mean, not giving any taking off the limelight of Stranger Things. I mean, Stranger Things is, I kind of feel, losing a little bit of momentum because they've went so long getting to season 4. I mean, come on, guys. What are you doing here? These kids are going to be freaking smoking cigars and out of college by the time you're done with season 4.
Get with it. Let's go.
But anyway, I digress. Moving on. I do feel, though, something fresh that we've never seen. When Stranger Things dropped originally, I believe it was in 2016 or 2017, first season. Dude, I'm telling you, the whole world blew up. It was like an implosion of something that's so familiar, but yet something we've never seen.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the same thing with Sweet Tooth. And I don't feel that Sweet Tooth is getting as much. Yeah, it is a bold call, but it's actually an accurate call. Because if you've seen the Rotten Tomatoes score, John, you got to say, man, it's a freaking 95% right now rating. Stranger Things, it tells a good story, but I kind of feel that season 3 in a lot of ways was very weak. It was very. There's several episodes.
Still hanging on to a 93% on the Rotten.
93% on Rotten Tomatoes still. Well, the 2 weeks it debuted, it was clinging at a 98%. So it's legit. Now, am I comparing it to Stranger Things and the fame of that? No, but I am saying that it is if you're looking for something that is comparable to Stranger Things to start, Sweet Tooth. And if you want to dive deeper, Sweet Tooth actually has a comic origin that you can go back and read where Stranger Things does not. So you can go in and you can read the story of Gus and you can get that on trade paperbacks as well. But is there anything that I'm missing? We didn't talk nitpicks. I know that some of the episodes had a little lengthy dialogue, and I understand that there's moments you have to set that up and talk about it. But am I missing anything?
I don't have a ton of complaints.
No,
I don't either. I don't really either, and that's very rare. I'm sure
it's not perfect. If I went back and watched it a second time, I could probably find something. But just from a first watch overall, I think it was really well done. The story was well told. It didn't have a lot of lulling points that dragged too much.
Right.
It kept moving forward, and I think that was nice. And the amount of episodes was a nice number too. It wasn't like too long, but it wasn't super short, so you weren't you didn't feel like they were cramming things into the episode.
Right. It felt natural.
I felt like it was paced nicely.
I like that. The pacing was good. And surprisingly, like you said, Lindsay, dark. Like we're seeing innocence, but you're seeing a form of dark and
There's
stuff here that's
definitely some darkness.
It's like skin.
Not like thriller darkness, because I was kind of concerned about that whenever you warned me about it being a little dark, and I was like, oh God, what are we going into? It's not like slasher nasty dark.
No.
But it's definitely has some dark tones to it. So it's
like
just
testing on kids for their blood and holding them in captivity like they're animals. That is a little dark. It's going to be.
I was afraid because Downey's production company, they did the Dr. Dolittle movie, which sucked, and it was for kids, and it sucked. But so I thought this movie would suck or this show would suck like that movie sucked. I keep saying sucked because it sucked. Don't ever watch it. But this series was not only for kids. I think it's primarily for adults. That's what I think. It's a show that, you have to be in the right headspace because we're dealing with kind of a pandemic in this show. We just dealt with one in real life, and I don't know if they planned it. I'm not sure when they filmed this, but it's just odd that it all worked out that way. But then, like you said, you have the doctor storyline, and that is a very tragic and adult story. So
it's rated TV-14, so I would say teenage and up would be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Teenagers. But so I was going into it's like, oh, Sweet Tooth. It's going to be a kid's show. And hopefully it's better. No. This is a nice balance of teenagers and adults. And I think it's resonating with people across the board. And that's why you're seeing it trending as long as it did.
I have a question for both of you guys to ponder. Do you feel that this would have as big of an impact if it was released either before or after the pandemic instead of in the middle of it?
Well, it's tough because I don't think a lot of people that watched it knew what it was dealing with. I think a lot of people just thought it was Dear Kid.
Yeah, they don't sell it. They don't sell it as, oh, this is a pandemic show.
Where's the Dear Kid?
That's not how they marketed it, and I think they did that intentionally.
Well, and then you dive into it, and you're like, oh, so maybe that's when people are like, oh, okay, we're dealing with the pandemic. How's this going to? But then it's so relatable, you just gotta keep watching. That's what I love about it.
I think a lot of the story is definitely, transcendent of the times that we're living in. It's very relevant. But honestly, Lindsay, to answer your question, I kind of feel like this is if this was released 4 years from now or 4 years ago, I think it would have still had the same impact because it's just done so well. So too. I don't think you can do a lot of these pandemic style-esque post-apocalyptic films or series. I just think it's more relevant because we're living through it.
I feel like it has a little the emotional attachment to the emotions has been cranked up to 11 because we're living in the middle of it. It would still be good if it was 5-10 back.
For sure. Quality would still be.
And even forward, I think it would still have that emotional tie because it would still be kind of relevant, fresh.
Yes.
But I think if it was in the past, it would still be good.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be like Stranger Things good.
Yeah. I agree.
It's timing.
Well, let's give our rating of this, and then we're gonna talk really quickly on Loki episodes 2 and 3, and then we're gonna wrap things up because we're a little bit over time. But
okay.
Austin Burke, lead the charge. What is your rating on Sweet Tooth?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've actually upped it because I did watch the second time. Madison watched this show, and I caught pretty much every episode again, and it actually stuck with me even more. So I'm going to go an 88%. Just a tiny bit. 88. It's a phenomenal show.
Cool.
Lindsay?
I was going to go with 9.2.
I'm a 9.0.
Nice.
A 9.0. Yeah.
We're very close tonight, guys.
Yeah, scores are very close. I knew coming in I was going to be a 9. Just because. I mean, it was good. It touched me. The acting, like I said, Will Forte, it was just great. It's got everything. And you guys need to see. Well, hopefully you've already watched it. If you're
I
watching
highly
the spoiler
recommend
review.
it if you haven't seen it. And
but
if
go
you
back and watch it again.
Please go finish
Go
it.
watch it again. Yeah, and if you started halfway through and you've drifted away, come back and finish it. It's worth it. And as you could tell, we didn't give away the spoiler ending, so we're not going to reveal that for you.
Yeah.
So there you go. So really quickly, let's talk Loki, episodes 2 and 3, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. There is a lot of moving parts in this show, and I just wanted to touch base on specifically on 2 and 3 because we did open up the can of worms on episode 1 in the previous episode, but 2 and 3 we are seeing Loki kind of start now becoming an ambassador for the TVA, right?
Yes.
We're seeing him with the coat and the jacket, and he's under Morbius's command, and they're going around trying to find this variant of himself that is causing all this mischievousness in the apocalyptic moments of the space-time continuum. And pretty interesting concept. And episode 2 was great. I feel episode 2 kind of left us with a little bit of cliffhanger. Then we went into episode 3. A little dialogue heavy, I feel, but it did establish a lot of things. And there's a couple of things I want to point out to you that I don't think you may have figured out. Upon my second viewing of episode 3 today, I am under the impression that you remember when Sylvie tried to touch Loki's head temple and tried to do that? Couldn't do it. I think that Loki, since we are on another planet and he has his full powers, we are in a spell that Loki has cast on her.
Interesting.
I feel that. I feel that.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, so she has the power to create, using a memory that is real and tangible, a way of power of presumption, power of suggestion to get an answer, right? So we see the opening scene where, well, even the opening intro music, I don't know if you heard the music and the lyrics specifically, but it's talking about, like, you know, what you see here is one thing, but on the left hand is another. You're seeing things above, but things below are different. It's talking, even the exit music is out of. Hey, did you notice that? The intro music is not the Marvel intro music or the Loki.
No, it's not.
The exit music is not the same as well, and that's purposefully done. And I feel that Loki is on a vendetta to try to figure out what she is and what her motive is. And I believe this is his way of maybe casting some kind of spell to try to release that from her. We're on a planet. Mind you, this is an actual planet from the Marvel universe. This is a planet that was destroyed after, I believe, is under Kree. And once the Kree fell, is now just a random mine planet that is getting ready to be decimated by this moon, ready to collide with it. But yeah, a lot of stuff, and you kind of feel like there's a love connection between Sylvie and Loki.
A little bit. There's a little
Can Loki be in love
there.
with himself? I don't know. Is Sylvie?
I think it's the only person he could be in love with.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, that's probably a metaphor right there within itself. But it was really, I have to agree with you, John. I did miss Owen Wilson exclusively in this episode. Wow. It was just, wow.
See, that's the thing for me, though, is I am not entirely sure if she is a variant of Loki, because Sylvie is the Enchantress in the comics, and that's an entirely different character than Lady Loki. So I don't know if they're combining both of those characters.
I think they are.
One.
I think they're combining the methodology of Lady Loki and Sylvie into one character.
Okay.
And
I don't know. I don't know if someone's lying somewhere, and we know the TVA's lying, right? But I feel like there's either going to be a reveal down the road that she is just the Enchantress all along, Agatha all along, or they have, what you said, Joe, combined the lore of Enchantress and Lady Loki and kind of done a little amalgamation of the two.
Here's the problem. All right, let me get some comic nerdness on you. the TVA and the comic books were exposed as a ruse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this or not, but the TVA is a bunch of bullcrap.
Yes, we were discussing
everybody
that
works in the TVA is a variant of themselves. That their minds have been wiped to become basically a robot to do the will of the three lizards that are controlling the space lizards that are controlling the flow of time. And in all actuality, when we scale it back and you go back and read the comics, Kang the Conqueror was the guy who masterminded all of this crazy plot, and he has. I think there's going to be some crazy reveals coming up in episode 4 and 5 that's going to create an insane culmination.
Kang's already been cast. I mean, he's been cast for the Ant-Man movie, so I mean, this could easily be his first appearance.
It could be.
At the end of the most recent episode 3, I believe, is what we're on right
yes,
now.
3.
Yes. Okay, 3. There was a comment made about the whole. You know that he's a variant or whatever along the lines. The Enchantress Sylvie, whatever we're calling her, references the fact that the TVA is fake.
Yes.
And that everybody there is a variant. And so funny little bet that my husband and I have created is we all want Owen Wilson to say wow. Yes? Okay. So it's either going to happen when he finds out that he's a variant and he gets to go back to the 90s in which he came from.
Yeah.
But I'm betting that he's going to go back to the 90s and he's going to get that Sea-Doo and get on it.
That's
wow.
That's my. See,
you know it's going to be the last thing.
Do you want me to spoil your bet?
Oh, please do.
Okay, it's been confirmed he's not going to say wow. It's confirmed by the director. Yes. Okay,
no,
so that's confirmed.
It can't happen. It has to happen.
I'm with you on the Sea-Doo thing. I think you don't mention something like that unless that has to do with who you are.
They make so many references to where he came from, and they're making the references that whole thing is fake. He's got to go somewhere.
People were saying, they were like, well, Mobius lied to Loki. Mobius said that they all lived here and they've been born. Mobius was convinced of that. He doesn't know.
He knows.
He didn't lie to Loki.
Brainwashed or, there's all sorts of spelltastic.
Well, if you notice on his mantle, in episode 2 when he goes into, I don't know what that judge's name is.
The judge's office.
Yeah, the judge's office.
Cesar C20?
Cesar.
No, is
that
her name?
I can't remember. She's the one that judges in front of the three faces.
Yes.
I suck at those. Anyway.
So I have the Google list here.
In his office, in actual Mobius's office, on his mantle is a San Diego snow globe. And so it ties in together that Mobius probably was from San Diego, and he probably did something really fun on the bay with Sea-Doo watercrafts.
I'm telling you right now, it's all leading back to he's going to go back to his timeline and he's going to do some Sea-Doo action.
Yeah.
With some jolts.
So sad.
But we leave episode 3, the planet is literally moments away from total devastation. And the PDA device that Loki is holding evidently is low on battery, and they can't open up a door to escape the planet like they have usually been able to do. Now, the question is Loki leaving the PDA in this whole environment, is he masterminded this entire situation and made the PDA look like it's low on battery to trick Sylvie to try to make her get to a point and a threshold to where he can actually understand what she's up to and what she's going to do? That's the question. Is all of this a mirror? Much like she created a mirror to get the information about the TVA in the opening scene of episode 3, is he doing the same to her? But we haven't, as the audience, been revealed to that yet. Interesting take, something to think about. I could be 1,000% wrong on that. I don't know. But
you could, but this episode, I feel like it needs something. Like there were some WandaVision episodes that didn't really, resonate until you got to the next episode and you realize, oh, that's what was happening. So because this episode, it was very dialogue heavy and a little bit of it was filler. So if we get like a little twist on it, then I'll be like, well, that's why episode 3 was episode 3. So it'll make it better.
It's very much a lining for a big plot point that's coming up and that it'll all make sense more.
I wouldn't be shocked Marvel has a way of doing this, and of course, the fan base runs wild. We're thinking Kang the Conqueror and the Watchers and all of this. It's Mephisto,
He's a
and
space
you're
lizard.
thinking about all this crazy stuff. What if the enemy is him? He is his own enemy.
Ooh, well, let me say, Richard E. Grant, who's a big-time star, was the villain in Logan. He was the older gentleman that came in at the end of Logan. He has been cast in Loki and has not made an appearance, and he's a big-time star. I think he's an older Loki, a variant, and he is the mastermind villain, Loki at an older age. That's what I think, because you don't cast Richard E. Grant and not make a big deal out of it. The guy's a huge star, so that's what I think.
So he's been cast out on Loki, but we're halfway through the series, and he's not even shown up yet.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's crazy, and we're going to keep unpacking this in the weeks ahead.
Yes,
when we come back and
way too much to formulate a final destination for this series. There's way too many questions.
When we come back and do the next episode on episode 126, which will be Black Widow by the means, we'll be talking 4 and 5. And so the plan is on PopX, by the time we hit episode 127, we're going to do a full series review on Loki. We're going to tie all the dots together. We're going to line everything up. We're going to spoil it for you, get it out there, and we're going to be ready for the next movies coming out: Shang-Chi, Multiverse of Mayhem, Spider-Man 3, all this crazy stuff. How's this going to line up? We're going to talk about it for sure. But so far, I think Loki is a slow burn.
Yes,
it's a slow burn of a show, and that's a good thing. It's something we've not seen in the MCU before, and I'm kind of happy about that. I like how they were
explaining how she explained how she did the mind control when she went into the agent's brain and tapped into a
memory.
Previous memory, and it was them at a bar or some tiki something or another, and that was like the whole big reveal that everybody was a variant.
Yeah, everybody's
except for Loki, because there was no thing.
I couldn't agree more.
For her to tap into.
Well, listen, guys, crazy jam-packed show. We're 20 minutes over time. You know what? We don't care. We're actually having a blast talking about it.
Yeah.
But it has been a stellar show, and you guys have been a huge part. I've been watching the chat room over here lighting up from nonstop. It's been awesome, and so
you guys have been rock stars all night.
Yes, you have. Huge shout out again to Jeremy Stoltz for hanging out with us over on the Haps fam and just listening to us while he's doing his amazing artwork. But we're going to wrap this up. Of course, we're not going to rate Loki right now. We're going to wait till the series is over. That way we can have our full rendition of it. But with all that said, I think tonight's show was pretty jam-packed. What do you say, team?
Oh, it's awesome. It was awesome.
Austin, lead us out, my friend.
All right, you guys can find me, Austin Burke, at the Burkinator on YouTube, Letterboxd, Twitter, Instagram, all those crazy things. We are part of the newly formed creative group known as the Creative Multiverse. For more great media, content, artwork, and more, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at the Creative Multiverse. If you are a creative, produce content, or have a talent, we would like to see it and would like for you guys to share it with us in the multiverse.
Awesome. If you guys want to connect with me, I am Lindsay Badger at LR Badger everywhere on the social media. If you want to connect with my art, it is all at Badger Makes. And also, PopXcast is everywhere. You can connect with us at the handle at PopXcast. You can send comments and suggestions to us via email as well at popxcast@gmail.com. And for future and past shows, make sure you visit our official website, www.popxcast.com.
Indeed. And I want to give some quick shout-outs right briefly here, if I may. I want to say hello to Miss Michelle Alexander. We got Luke McCracken. What's up, Luke? All the way up in Canada. We got John Parfenbarger, Mike, and we have Devereaux Watson. He's driving all the way back from L.A., and he's to San Diego, and he's listening to us on his drive.
Nice.
That's pretty gnarly. So we love you, Dev. He's also a part of the Creative Multiverse as well. He hangs out with us on cam and edits his pictures and photography work. So, all right, guys, listen, I'm going to drop the link one more time in the chat room for tonight's. We're going to be over here live. It's about 40 minutes from now, at 11 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to join us, you're more than welcome to. It's free to sign up on this platform. You don't need to worry about any money. You just create an account and you show up, and we can come and hang out, and you can hang out with the PopX crew as we draw and do some fun stuff. But I am Joseph Burke, a.k.a. at Joseph Burke Arts, all over the web. Literally, I got one username. You can find me on multiple platforms at Joseph Burke Arts. Of course, hats off to amazing Team PopX. Couldn't do this without you guys. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. And that's it for this episode of PopX Cast. We'll see you next time on episode 126. And we will be discussing Black Widow. And can you guess what the retro rewind is going to be for that one? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Yeah, it's time that we just in time because the new movie is coming out next spring. And so I was like, you know what? We need to do this movie and have it already under the belt before that movie comes out. So we will be talking Ghostbusters. Oh my gosh. The Reitmans come forth. That's all I got to say.
Let's go.
But you guys have an amazing night. Austin, I am going to give you a break because I know you've been moving. I know I'm going to give you a break this episode.
He's gotten his cardio this week.
He's been tugging boxes and packing things and painting walls and putting down floor and hammering nails, and he's been doing a lot. So you're going to get
a lot
of
of tugging. Let me tell you, on the boxes. No.
Okay. You sure?
Move on.
Okay, I'm moving on. All right, guys. We are done. That is it for this episode. Austin, no more. You don't get a dance this weekend, so I'm going to give you a rest. I'm going to let you rest.
We'll wait till next time.
You deserve it. You deserve a rest. Everybody deserves a rest. But with all that said, take care, guys. We out.
Bye, everybody.
From everyone at PopXcast, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that notification bell so you know when we go live next. Drop us an email, popxcast@gmail.com. Throw us up a like on Instagram and all those other social media outlets at PopXcast. Until next time.
So we're still streaming. Just hanging out here, reading your comments before we go. Okay. We got everybody's wanting. No, dance monkey, dance.
Want me to dance?
They want you to dance, dude.
I can't dance,
dude. You have worked your tail off this week. You can't dance. Lindsay, can you dance? I don't know where Lindsay's at. I don't know what happened to Lindsay.
I don't know what's happening.
Lindsay, you're still on the stream.
Oh my!
They can't see our faces though. Shh.
Don't cross the streams.
They don't know we're here.
Can we talk about him?
Can we talk about John Parfenbarker?
John. Oh, John. I can't say anything about John. He's too nice.
He is a nice guy. He's really swell. He's a swell guy.
Smack talk him with kindness.
I love that
guy.
Ooh,
you're just so nice. Ooh, John. Ooh.